If I asked you to name a perfect game from 2012, which one would you name? Maybe you'd say Matt Cain's 14 strikeout outing, an outing that's currently tied with Sandy Koufax for the highest game score of any perfect game in MLB history. Then there's Felix Hernandez and his masterful 12 strikeout performance at Safeco Field, the home of not one, but two perfect games in 2012. King Felix's and Philip Humber's. Felix's perfect game occurred in the midst of a dominant multi-year stretch, while Humber's outing signified what could only be described as the ultimate last hurrah. Take a look at this chart. Each dot represents the post-perfect game ERA of every player to pitch a perfect game since 1947. For the majority of these guys, they pitched the rest of their careers with average-ish ERAs, aside from a few outliers. Then, there's Philip Humber, who over his final 41 appearances accumulated a 7.59 ERA, a microcosm for what's ultimately the forgotten perfect game.
For Seattle, backhanded by Konerko. Humber find a bag to Beckham, throws out the Mariners second baseman in Seattle. Off the fist, backhanded by Ramirez, catches it cleanly, and that'll do it.
A clean first inning, the foundation of every perfect game, but an outcome Humber rarely saw between 2012 and 2013. A complete 180 from his breakout 2011 season, a year where he produced an identical F-WAR to his teammates Mark Burley and Gavin Floyd. However, in contrast to his teammates, Humber didn't enter the 2011 season with much big league success. Despite the prospect pedigree associated with the former number 3 overall pick, Humber spent years bouncing between organizations, never able to establish a big league role following Tommy John surgery in 2005. Until he was claimed off waivers by the White Sox ahead of the 2011 season. It was in Chicago where Humber started working with pitching coach Don Cooper, who encouraged mechanical tweaks along with the development of a new pitch. A pitch that transformed Humber from fringe starter to big league contributor. The slider.
Not as strong as they'd like.
While the slider didn't transform Humber into a strikeout artist, this pitch contributed to his ability to get outs by limiting hard contact and line drives. Although, of course, at this point, no one is thinking about a perfect game. If anything, Humber was simply hoping for some early run support, which came in the form of a Paul Konerko home run, another Konerko RBI an inning later, and an RBI from Humber's battery mate, A.J. Pierzynski. A 3-run lead and a 1-2-3 third inning for Humber, who at this point had not allowed a single batted ball to leave the infield. The type of performance expected from a number 3 overall pick. But no matter how highly someone is rated, success is no guarantee. When I got drafted, I thought, okay, I'll go play 10 years in the big leagues, then shut it down and hang out at my ranch. I never thought about the minor leagues, the struggles. That never crossed my mind. Elbow surgery, lost velocity, no organization to call home. As Humber's father said, if he had something else to fall back on, I think he could have walked away. A perfectionist mentality trapped in the confines of a volatile game, forever in pursuit of that one moment where everything finally clicks. Ultimately, Humber began to resent the game of baseball. Until he played in Puerto Rico. Encouraged to play in the Puerto Rican Winter League by his wife Kristen following a demoralizing 2009 season, it was here where Humber became more in tune with the mental side of the game. 2+ years later, Kristen, now 9 months pregnant with her and Philip's first child, was about to witness her husband make history. Still, as stated before, no one's thinking about a perfect game after 3 innings. In fact, she figured, probably around the 4th inning, Philip is going to give up 4 runs.
For the Mariners against Philip, first pitch, a drive to left that backs up Viciedo, fighting the sun.
The first ball to leave the infield. A bullet right into the glove of Dayan Viciedo. A hard hit out, no big deal, unless the hard contact continues.
We're all out here for the same reason. So, I want them to succeed.
A tougher out, but fortunately hit in the region of right fielder Alex Rios. Although, following 2 straight hard hit batted balls, had the Mariners lineup figured out Humber's game plan? Or were these batted balls simply a product of the aggressive nature of this young Seattle lineup? A characteristic pointed out by pitching coach Don Cooper the day prior. Even the great Ichiro, never the most patient hitter, seems more anxious to swing than usual now that he's hitting third in the order.
1-2. Ichiro swinging a miss. Brzezinski will tag him.
That slider fooled Ichiro, one of the greatest contact hitters in modern baseball history. Then, in the 5th inning, Humber continued to induce non-threatening batted balls for this well-rated defense to deal with. 5 innings, only 51 pitches, no base runners allowed. This was starting to get real.
Laying down a bunt, Humber's got it. Perfect game lives as Kawasaki tried to break it up. Swing and a miss. That's a half a dozen strikeouts for Philip Humber.
94.7 miles per hour, the fastest pitch thrown by Humber in this game. Adrenaline had kicked in. But with 8 at-bats to go, anything can happen. Nearly 1 year prior, on April 25th, 2011, Humber was in the midst of a no-hitter versus the Yankees, until a 7th inning single by Alex Rodriguez ended the no-hit bid. 2 months later, another no-hit bid was quashed, this time by the Nationals in the 6th inning, a game Humber received a loss for. In short, perfect games and no-hit bids end prematurely all the time. However, in a sport like baseball, anything can happen.
Bouncing ball to the second baseman, Beckham throws, and a perfect game through 8 for Philip Humber.
3 outs to go, or in other words, uncharted territory. Entering this game, Humber had never pitched in the 9th inning of a big league game he started, nor had he dealt a 3-ball count all afternoon.
You line out by Ackley, 3-0.
3-0. The prospect of throwing only the 21st perfect game in MLB history was fading away. This next pitch meant everything.
Saunders in there for strike at 3-1.
Strike 1, hitter's count. A count Michael Saunders thrived in. In the 21st century, only 21 players with at least 140 plate appearances in 3-1 counts possess at least a 1700 OPS in these situations. Saunders was one of them.
3-1 to Saunders. Swing and a miss.
3-2 count. Humber had battled back. But what does he throw next? Another fastball? Or something a bit more dangerous?
Lead off, the home ninth, the pitch. Struck him out. Strikeout number 8.
Lay a fastball in because I'm scared, give up a hit and I'll kick myself. Walk him, I've still got the no-hitter. He gets strike 3 swinging. Following this strikeout and a flyout by John Jaso, Humber was 1 out away from history. First pitch, a high slider. Second pitch, doubling down on a slider, this time just barely hitting the outside corner. Third pitch, another slider. This time, a mistake over the plate pinch hitter Brendan Ryan couldn't connect with. 1-2 count. 1 strike away.
The pitch. Breaking ball upstairs, 2-2.
Okay, ball 2. Let's just reset and get this final strike.
The 2-2 pitch to Ryan. Outside, full count. Doesn't get any more dramatic than this.
5 straight sliders. 3-2 count. The game had reached its climax.
Into the line, the 3-2 pitch. Fouled away. There's something special. He swung. Brzezinski has got to throw it down. It's a perfect game for Philip Humber. How about that?
Here's the 2-2 pitch on the way.
1 year earlier, Philip Humber watched as Justin Verlander, the future Hall of Famer drafted one selection before him, threw a nasty slider to complete a no-hitter. In this moment, he wanted to mimic this ending. Instead, it was the worst pitch he threw all day. But perhaps it was the weight of the moment, the prior pitch sequencing, or a combination of the two that caused Brendan Ryan to swing. Or did he swing? Controversially, Fox never played a side view replay of this final swing, despite utilizing the camera angle earlier in the game. So, this fan's footage is the best view we got of this final swing. The closer they get, the more borderline things may go the pitcher's way. This debatable final call lies in the interpretation of the viewer. And given the league-wide chaos that ensued following the controversy of Armando Galarraga's stolen perfect game less than 2 years prior, it's not surprising to see this 50-50 call fall in favor of not just the pitcher, but baseball history. So, what happens when you make baseball history? Well, for Philip Humber, it meant he was sending gear to be enshrined at Cooperstown. It meant receiving a call from the President of the United States, Barack Obama. It also meant an appearance on The Late Show with David Letterman, where Letterman offered a quick bit of advice. If I were you, I would retire now.
You know, well, this... that feels good.
In the air to left field pretty deep. Going back at the track at the wall, and that is gone. It's a 2-run home run, and the Red Sox take a 9-3 lead.
Less than 1 week following his perfect game, in the most anticipated start of his career, Humber made history once more. The most earned runs allowed in the start immediately following a perfect game. 9 earned runs in 5 innings. 2 starts later, he allowed 8 earned runs in 2 1/3 innings. A few months later, he was relegated to the bullpen. 1 year later, Humber pitched his final big league outing. An unceremonious end to what was seemingly a revitalized career. What happened? Well, to summarize, the perfectionist mindset, coupled by the burden of serious injuries affecting his pitch repertoire, led Humber astray on a search for perfection, until any semblance of mediocrity, much less perfection, became unattainable. In 2016, following some minor league stints and a season in Korea, Philip Humber retired from baseball. After a quick look at his career stats, it's no surprise he holds the worst career ERA, ERA+, and FWAR out of all 24 perfect game pitchers. A source of the bitterness and hatred the perfection-obsessed Humber once held towards the game he felt hadn't reciprocated the time and energy he'd committed to it. Over a decade later, he's no longer resentful. I'm not in the Hall of Fame, but I have something in the Hall of Fame museum, so that's really cool. For where I came from in certain times in my career, to have achieved that is crazy. In the grand scheme of MLB history, Philip Humber's perfect game is forgotten and overlooked by many, instead often recognized as the unexpected peak of an otherwise dull big league career. Regardless, Humber accomplished a feat only a minute percentage of players have ever and will ever achieve. He's etched his name in the history books, and while it's a name some often forget, it will forever remain. And that's what matters most.